Hello everybody and welcome back. This is Alaa from VFX Arabia. Today I want to show you the tool I used to destroy my road in my video Road Destruction Glen Mary. Sorry I didn't post the setup immediately because I need to do some tweaks and just clean up the setup. And do here a simple interface and make it like a TD tool. You just pick your frags road and the activator collision, tweak some parameters here and just hit play and your road will be destroyed. That's it. So let's start with a new scene from 0. Here we go. This is our start scene. It consists only of the pre-fragmented road. Like those are the fragments. And we have the collision object, sphere, and the activator. They are animated using a simple path constraint. And here down we have kill zone. It's a simple box. Whenever the particles fall down, they are gonna be deleted. I feel like this is more optimized since my camera and view is gonna be from this angle. So we're not gonna see the particles that are falling beneath the ground. So there's no need for the thinking particle to compute them. And another thing, I felt like pre-fracturing the road is much better than letting thinking particle to pre-fracture it. One of the benefits is like you're taking one step off the shoulders of thinking particle of pre-fracture your mesh. The second thing is assume like in this situation your effector is gonna go this way. So there is no need for thinking particle to calculate this part, or for example, if your effector gonna finish at here to compute those chunks here. So you are more in control of what thinking particle is gonna take into account to compute and pre-fracture. So let's start adding the item to the setup. It's straightforward. You have your frags menu here. Let's add them. And put them in static group, just instances, and hide. Another thing, we have the activator. And track its motion, no need for instance. Keep it here. The collision, we have the sphere. It has motion and shape instance. And hide it. The parameters is pre-made for you. It's like just some defaults here. I divided the setup into 3 stages: breaking first stage, breaking second stage, breaking third stage, and all of them are working on proximity. It's more optimized this way, so there's no need to pre-break all of those chunks. Only the chunks that are close to our activator is going to be pre-fragmented. Let's turn this off for the time being and explore them one by one. The first volume breaking has a radius. So if you put this to 5, it's like self-explanatory what it does, and it has a variation like 100 variation or 0 variation. Let's put it back to 50. And the details of the fragments, increase it to make big chunks and decrease it for more details. Second fragmenting is going to take this group and move it to the second stage. Also, pay attention, this is a percentage and not a radius, because it's taking this radius, the volume breaker 1, into account and just break a percentage of it. 20%, 80, and so on. And also there is the variation. the resolution of the fragments. Let's play a couple of frames. You can see how this setup works. Whenever the chunks are near, the activator is going to be pre-break and move in the flow. The third stage of breaking is going to be based on size. For example, if the instruction go on and we find like big chunks here, say big chunks, we can filter them and let thinking particle destroy them for us. The parameters I expose here are the size threshold. All the particles that above this number is going to be fractured, a variation, a delay. Okay, for example here, this chunk is big. It's not gonna be fractured immediately. It's gonna have some delay and variation to this delay, and then it's gonna be fractured. We have a delay variation, and the resolution of that fracture. Let's see it in action. I'll activate it. Wait a minute. Let's put the chunk size to 3. You can see it in action now. Let's make it more smaller and increase the resolution a bit because it's somehow slow. Here we can see it. To make the effect more obvious, let's introduce some long delay here, less variation, like this big chunk, for example. It's gonna take time to break. And again, also this depends on your camera view. For example, if your camera is seeing the destruction from this angle, you want to see some resolution here. So delay is not gonna help you that much. So you need to reduce that parameter a bit. So like 5 frames with some variation is gonna be perfect. Okay, for those now, the dynamics type is like a simple shape collision, either to activate it or not. Just deactivate it and with no gravity. So we can see the chunks more in faster, not in real time, but to see how our breaking is progressing, if we need to increase it more, the resolution, or the radius, for example. Bear in mind that only the dark green and fair green and the blue is gonna go into the shape collision, but only the light green and blue is gonna be affected by forces, by gravity forces. I don't want the side of the road, the side of the brake to be affected by gravity. I want them just to hang there. It's like they are still attached here and a bit rotated or moved. I felt like this is more realistic. So if we introduce some gravity here, it's not real number like 980, it's just like put simple numbers. 1, 2, 3, for example. I introduce some friction, it's like the drag in 3ds Max. 20 or 10, do some experiments. Let's see it. Just gonna take some time, so bear with me. So again, to wrap up, we have the first stage of volume breaking, and the second stage, the third stage, and we have control over the radius, the variation, the resolution of the break, and last one is the size, if it is big or small, and the delay and its variation. There's an option I didn't activate yet, which is by velocity. If the chunk is moving rapidly, it's gonna fracture more. Oh, strange. The sphere is not colliding. Did I add it? Oh, I didn't add it to the group, sorry. Add the sphere deflector to the collision group. This activator, everything's okay. Just I'll pause it a while and move forward to show you the result. Okay, back again. I moved to frame 45. As you can see, the fracturing. It's really nice. You have the option is to decide whether to make this size of the road is increase the resolution. It depends on the first break. So increase the, for example, you can increase the first break resolution, the raster, make it smaller, and increase the second break. It's like do the balance till you achieve your desired result. And as I told you, sometimes if your camera is from here, you need some resolution for breaking. So you can play around here with the delay, either without any delay, so it will fracture in the third stage immediately, or if you are viewing the destruction from behind, then a bit of delay and variation is going to be nice. What else? The debris section. You can add debris. How many debris you want it is based on position borne by shot, scale factor, and variation. Let me show you. I'll go back to the first frame. Just turn off the dynamics so you can see. Here's the yellow color. You can increase the size just for demonstration, and introduce some variation. Okay. And here the debris are generated. I put a filter for the debris so they are generated only on the big chunks, not small chunks. In a while I'll show you the setup and go step by step through how I did it. I think that's it. Add the frags, add the activator, the collision, how many breaks you want, the resolution, the radius, collision, friction, gravity, and finally add some debris. I didn't include any fume effects setup yet for this setup. Maybe in future upgrades I'll post them. So now that's all for the tool. Let's jump to see the setup. For the setup part, it's pretty straightforward. We have the braking section here, debris and material. For the braking, we have both a couple of particle to object to particle stories, activator, collision, frags. And what I want to mention here is the activator. We can add more than one. Let's say, for example, I created a box here. You can create any object, of course. Pick this object, put it in activator section. Just wait till it update. Come on, here we go. As you can see, you can move it around. It'll take time. Here we go. The next section is the first volume breaker. Here I added a P search filter to which one of those frags that we fed the system that's gonna be break. Just let me delete this first so we can see. It's more clear now. So those particles, the red ones, all this range are fed to volume breaker, but only this radius is activated, which is led by a parameter I exposed. You can see it here. This radius. So this radius is going to be input into one of them is the search, and the second one is the volume breaker, what particle is going to be activated. The final result is going to be sent out to the next volume breaker, next stage. As you remember, I told you this radius is a percentage of the first one. The light green one is a percentage of the dark green. So here is 50, can increase it to 70. And I introduce some variation and expose the raster. The third stage, as you know, is the size 1. So we have size test for the particle and the delay here. With both of them, I gave them some variation. If we enter inside those, just we take the value, we add a minus a small margin and feed it to a random, and it will give me a random value for the delay, the frames, and for the size per particles. We have the forces, friction, and a simple gravity force with a 0.3 helper pointing downwards. Previously I used STD force, drag and wind and those stuff, but I felt it's like more consistent if I have the forces internally. You can add as many forces as you want external, no problem. Before the final stage we have the shape collision. I exposed the on, as you can see here. You can activate it or deactivate it. It's gonna work with the SC group, shape collision group, which consists of most of the things. The static, first, second, and third groups of fragmentation, but bear in mind that the first one is not activated by force here, by gravity. What else? Last stage is the kill, as I told you. Sometimes your particle is gonna go off the ground and there's no need for them to stay in the system, so they're gonna be killed. You can deactivate this by right click on it, so your particle will stay. And if you want to do this, don't forget to put some deflector down here if you want, else where it's gonna be just fall forever. The debris, bear in mind that the debris is gonna work using a surface position with material ID 2. If your object is gonna have those internal faces apart from material ID 2, you should change this. But for my setup, all the volume breakers here are set to material ID 2, so no worries for this setup. But if you want to change it, you can change it from here. The volume breaker, all volume breakers should be set to something else than 2. And if you change it, don't forget to change the material ID here also. It has a size threshold, so I told you only the big particle is gonna emit debris. A shape, an instance, and a scale. And finally we have a simple material here you can apply to your shape collision. Of course you can add different materials, for example for the debris for your chunks, but here's just a simple one. And that's pretty much it. I'm gonna share the scene with you guys, one with the road with the chunks and the helpers, everything, and another one with only the thinking particle set up, so you can just throw your roads to the system and it's gonna break it. And as always, thanks for watching.